Vancouver, Canada. I'm going to be speaking at a conference at the end of the month, and details are on my website. Bob?
Well, hi, I'm Bob Mitton. Just a quick introduction. Like Rich said, I used to work at fun places like Sun, AMD, Avaya, and just recently at VMware. And you may have heard what happened to VMware, but now I'm off trying to help people have the same success that we had at VMware in terms of AI and marketing adoption. And I'm working with some of the experts from that marketing AI team on how to translate that out for everybody else. So if you're interested, and we'll talk some more about what I do as we go through, ping me or hop on my website and set up a Calendly appointment. Anyway, so let's go. Let's get on with the show here. So why are we talking about AI in a go-to-market motion, right? Pretty straightforward, as Insight Partners shows here. Like it or not, all of the go-to-market teams are experimenting with AI. And we found in our experience, whether it's sanctioned or not, your employees are going to be using it. And so you'd really like to know what they're doing. And we really like to get out in front of it. In fact, here,
I'm
80,
not too sure of
86%.
his, but yeah, just
Hi,
put
Lori.
mine there for now.
Lori, if you could mute yourself, thank you.
So 86% of those surveyed by Insight
sorry, what was
Partners are already using Gen AI at some level. So as you probably know, it's better to know what people are doing and give them guidelines than to have to come back later and clean up the mess. So let's get out in front with guidelines and guardrails on Gen AI usage and know a little bit more about how you can use it, what you might want to do, and what you might not want to do. So perhaps it's you, perhaps it's your team. Maybe you're looking for a place to start. Maybe you're looking for use cases to sell this idea up to management. Whatever the reason, Gen AI is going to change the game. It already is. And so that's what Rosemary and I are going to talk about today, is how you can use Gen AI in go-to-market, and what are some of the use cases, some of the good use cases, and what are the tools that you can use to get that success. Okay? Any questions so far? All right, I think we got everybody muted. So go-to-market cuts across a large swath of your company, right? There are just it's an infinite number. There's a huge number of people that are involved in a go-to-market, and it's not only at a given point in time. It starts with analysis. It starts with strategy, putting together the plans and taking that all the way to launch, and then getting the feedback for the next go-around for that. And you can see here are just a few of the groups that are involved: product, marketing, or marketing ops, all the way out to legal. Everybody has some portion or some actions that they have to take in the go-to-market motion. And I'm not even including channel and partner groups here as well. That's a whole other thing with field marketing and stuff. So each of these groups has these tasks that can be made much more efficient through Gen AI, right? So to cover all of this content, that would take several days, actually. So in fact, that's the training that I'm focusing on with the experts from VMware's Marketing AI Council. If you're interested, ping me. Since we only have a few minutes, Rosemary and I ask you what you wanted to hear. And from thanks for all of those that fill out the pre-event survey. There were 3 things that came out that were the most highest interest from you: data analysis and insights, personalized campaigns, and content creation. So that's what we've highlighted here. You can see that in red, and that's what we're going to talk about. If you want to talk about the other things, we'll probably have some Q&A at the end. We can talk a little bit more about that. So quick overview of what we're going to cover: product definition, so SWOT analysis, market research to uncover features and selection, competitive analysis and segmentation. Then we'll take some of those ideas into demand gen and what I call true ABM. And then we'll hit on some SEO and SEM and content engagement and content creation. And if we have some time, we could talk about how to use AI for RFP and RFQ responses. So along the way, we're going to show you some different tools maybe a couple different ways to accomplish each one of these actions. I trust it's going to be engaging and quickly moving. So let's get started. So SWOT analysis. So when it comes to market research, real quick. So when it comes to market research, data analysis is key here. Gen AI can really increase your efficiency and surface the insights that are there. So Rosemary, let's talk about SWOT analysis.
All right, so what I'm going to show you in a prompt is how to do in one prompt a marketing plan, a SWOT analysis, a list of competitors that ChatGPT will pull for us, strategies, and an implementation plan. So I will copy my quote and start a new chat here. And let me tell you what I'm asking. I'm asking for all the different things that I just mentioned relating to a zero trust strategy. And there was a presidential executive order mandating this zero trust. And so I have asked for the SWOT analysis. And we are now getting the market analysis, the SWOT analysis, competitor reviews. So it's now listing competitors and differentiators. It's giving me my market strategy and an operational plan all at once. And one of the nice things about using custom instructions in ChatGPT, which I'll talk about in a minute, is that you can do things like ask it to always ask you follow-on questions, which is a really good thing to do because I've just run this long prompt and I've got all this information. So if I'm working on this project, I will read through everything and I will start to ask it questions. If I don't have any specific questions on this, I'm now going to go and ask it to drill down into competitors. I've already been told what the competitors are here. I'm going to now go into very specific information. I'm going to ask ChatGPT to tell me the features of each of these companies, be detailed, visit their website, their investor pages, and Wikipedia. So I always find it's easier if you have the links that you want ChatGPT to follow to put them right into the prompt. You'll get better results if you can do that. And let's see what it can do. So one of the nice things is when you do this whole continuation prompt setup is that you're going to end up with one link that you can maintain and take a look at and refer back to and share with your team members as well. So the first one that ChatGPT is looked at is Palo Alto Networks, which is probably one of the leaders in this whole cybersecurity space. It's given me a lot of information about the various features of its product and recommendations for features that these companies aren't offering that we should be focusing on. Now, you notice that there were several other competitors and ChatGPT has stopped. So all I have to do is say continue, and it's going to carry on to the next and the next and the next. So we don't have to wait till it finishes everything, but it's very nice that you're going to be able to look at all of these competitors. And then at the end of this, if you wanted to ask for a table format with all the suggested advanced features that you should be offering, no problem doing that. So I can't really tell from this whether it went to Wikipedia. I don't see anything on Fortinet. So what I'm going to do next, I'm going to stop it when it gets here. As soon as it finishes this, I'll stop it right now. And I'm going to say, in the table format, give me the top 5 features that these competitors are not offering that we should offer in our zero trust product. I always like having things in a table format because it's just so much easier to read data in this way. Another thing I could have done was ask it to prioritize. So this is a nice way to have your formatting. So now I'm going to go over to customer preferences and launch dates. So what I'm asking it to do is to use Bing, and I want it to, I want to know if there's anything I can learn from the product launch details. And what's nice is I've already given ChatGPT in this thread, I've given it, its investor pages where often new products are listed, Wikipedia and other pages as well to look at. And I've given it the companies to look at. Let's just shorten this just so it doesn't take so long. Take your time, go step by step. That's kind of a nice thing to do. So it's been proven that helps in the output. So this is a new thing that just started yesterday, is that it's showing its code. So all you have to do to get rid of that, because it's kind of annoying, is click here. Geez, I can't click on it. There it goes. Okay, so you probably saw that it said error analyzing. If it ever doesn't continue on for you at that point, you just say continue. So now we have here messaging suggestions, features, and the description all at once. So any questions on why we would do that? What other questions you might want to ask as part of that? If there's no comments, then I'm going to have Bob talk about historical data. So Bob, I'm going to go to the next slide, and you can talk about Walmart.
Sure. So, yeah, and before we leave that other slide, just, she asked about SWOT analysis and competitive. You can imagine, the prompt can also be about descriptive analysis, segmentation analysis, consumer behavior analysis, market trending, predictive modeling, things like that. So, so on the next slide, I'm going to talk a little bit more about, market trend analysis, right? So that's the Walmart data set here.
And Bob, I ran that for you this morning if you want.
Oh, beautiful. Okay. So we just we used a data set that is available online, freely available for anybody that's testing out, data sets or wants to. There's a site called Kaggle, KAGGLE.com. They have over 300 and some thousand publicly available data sets. You can find one to meet whatever needs you have. Here we're talking about going beyond the pivot table, right? The Walmart data analysis is, okay, I've got all this historical sales data, and I want to figure out how all of it affects each other. So the prompt here was, in the attached sales report, analyze this historical sales data, do the consumer, what are the consumer behavior patterns, what trends over the past 3 to 5 years, and how do they impact sales? Is there any correlation between that and the fuel prices or temperature or CPI, any other strong correlations, right? And it ran it in just a few minutes, 50,000 entries, and it took a minute or two. And so that's just a small sample. What it found was the only correlation between sales and any of the other data was the holidays. And you can see that there's a spike in sales at every one of the holidays. A holiday X, absolutely no correlation through any of the other stuff. really, really powerful way to find out what's going on in your data set really quickly without having to set up real pivot tables and do the analysis yourself. So let's go to the next slide, because this is where it starts to get really interesting. So I pulled out a sales data set from Zillow, which was, what is that, 7 years worth of real estate sales across the US. So 250,000 rows, 82 columns, 20 million, almost 20 million entries. And I fed that into into ChatGPT and gave it essentially that same prompt. Analyze this data, tell me what the trends are, and tell me what the correlations are. And this is what it kicked back. And this is really interesting because it's all the stuff you would expect, right? Days on market is going down, inventory is going down, prices are going up, right? So that's all pretty simple. As prices go up, rent goes up. Correlation between the price as things go up, prices go up. What was really interesting in the aha moment here, and got to very quickly, which I don't know if you could get 20 million entries into a pivot table, was the last correlation on the slide here. The days on market for all homes versus those for the middle tier of homes, basically mid-market homes, is negatively correlated. And that gives you a thing that was like, what? Wait a minute. So it tells you that basically all of this market movement is due to the higher valued homes. And none of the lower value homes were causing anything. So it's the upshot of all of this is if you have your sales and or CRM data available to you, you can uncover trends and correlations that you weren't necessarily going to see in any other way. And so it's really cool to be able to send this data at OpenAI, at ChatGPT, and be able to get that and draw those insights back. And so when we were talking about, setting up your feature sets and doing your analysis and stuff like that, this is going to save you a heck of a lot of time in terms of putting that together. All right, so that's the data analysis, the data sets analysis. Rosemary, if you want to talk about how to do that.
I was just going to go through one other one. So it's really fun actually to take these massive data sets that you can get from Kaggle. I mean, it's unfortunate they don't really have any sales data that would help marketers, but they have a lot of other kind of data that you can experiment with. So this is simply a table that is looking at the degrees that people, postgraduate degrees, and the placement, whether people were placed, the salary, what their GPA average was, and the college name. And so really easily, we're talking less than 30 seconds, we can go and get all kinds of data. And this kind of analysis was previously an impossible thing to do when you're talking about massive data sets. But ChatGPT just eats that right up. So just some caveats about using ChatGPT for data analysis is that your data set has to be clean. By that, I mean it has to have labels in every column, every column heading, and the rows have to be consistent. It has to be clean enough that the data can actually be analyzed. And really the easiest thing to do, as Bob said, is you just create a prompt and ask it to give you the trends. And then you start having the back and forth dialogue about what you're really looking for out of this data. Any questions? And of course, it makes beautiful charts, and you can also ask it to create a report, including charts that will export to a Word document. And so, prompt engineering is not going away. There's nothing that's really changing that. So I'm going to just quickly give you one quick way to organize your chats, your prompts. Christine, I'll come right back to you in 1 second. So there's this tool called Prompt Vault. There's actually a lot of these tools out here now, but the nice thing about this one, and it's free, is that you can set up your own prompts here. And so for this example that I'm going to show you, I created this from one of Bob's prompts. The way this works is at the bottom is your base prompt. And if you notice here in square brackets, it shows the information that you want to put in there, so that this is the data that changes from one prompt to another. So once you create this, you can reuse this prompt over and over again. And what you put in this base prompt area in brackets then comes here. And you have fields that you can automatically fill in with whatever it is you're prompting on. And I only use this one feature, and I'll show you why in a minute. Whoops, got to do that in the future. So we're going to run this prompt. So the only issue with this service is there's not an API to connect it to GPT-4, so you're only getting 3.5. But what you do get is you now get your whole prompt with everything filled in. So it's kind of a nice way to have your reusable prompts. And Christina, did you have a question?
Yes. How many tokens did it cost you, Bob, to run that analysis with the Walmart data?
Good question. I didn't actually go look at that. But
it shouldn't have cost you anything, right? Because you're using ChatGPT.
Yeah, I'm on one of the bigger plans, so I didn't actually care.
Okay, thank you.
Not to be recursive, but could you ask it? Right? I mean,
I could. Let me see.
Good question, though. Good.
Digress.
Yeah, good question. Are there any other questions? Because we're going pretty quickly. All right. We will carry on.
Carry on. Yes. So yeah, I'm sorry we're talking fast because we don't have a lot of time. So I will go back and check on that for you in terms of tokens. So let's switch over from the analysis to the brand positioning, messaging, and content creation start. One of the things, especially in terms of content creation, you want to ensure is consistent and genuine representation of your brand voice across all of your marketing materials. And so it's one of the things that you have to enforce, whatever LLM you're using, right? They don't know your brand voice, so you need to tell them that. And it's important to use a tool that when using the tool to establish your brand identity. Some of the tools are easier than others to train on this. So let's talk about a few ways to do that. So I guess, Rosemary, if you can talk about your custom instructions.
Sure. So as you probably have heard me talk before, I'm a big believer in using custom instructions to guide the AI to your correct messaging style and tone. And the way we do that is we go down here, custom instructions. There are two parts to custom instructions. The first part is where you put all the information about you, your tone, your voice, anything you want about how you want to be perceived. The second part of the prompt is how you want ChatGPT to respond. You get 1,500 characters for each of these, and I made a PDF for everybody, and I cannot upload it to chat. So if anybody wants it, they can email me after. So custom instructions is the first place that you go to set your voice and messaging. The second place is you're going to keep a sample. The easiest thing to do is to find on your website or wherever examples or URLs of your preferred tone and voice. And if it's a URL, when you create a prompt, you could just ask ChatGPT to follow the voice and style from that URL. And if it's text that you have, you can just include that text, and ChatGPT will follow that. Unfortunately, you can't put a URL and custom instructions and tell it to follow that. But a little trick is that if you don't really know what your voice is, you can take, a lot of your content and drop it into ChatGPT and ask it to tell you what is your tone and voice. And then you can use that back in custom instructions or within a prompt. So, but one thing we've really learned in this last year is that you can't just use a word like, write me a professional something or other. So it's best if you use multiple adjectives when you're creating a prompt, because ChatGPT will just latch onto that one word like professional, and you won't get the same natural conversational response as if you have multiples. So moving on to how to do tone analysis in social media, because this is one way to look at what your tone is. I'm going to go over here and where is my example? All right, so what I've done here is I have taken screenshots of the social posts of 3 competitors, and I'm going to upload that prompt into ChatGPT, starting a new prompt because it's a different topic. You can only do this with the paid version. And let me grab my prompt. All right, so I am going to ask ChatGPT, I'm going to tell it that it contains 3 ads, and I'm going to ask it to critique the ads. And it's brilliant at doing this. I mean, there's not a lot of information on those ads, but the output is pretty darn good. And then you can go back and, ask follow-up questions. Let's just give it a second here. Okay, here we go. And you can do this, you can look for analysis like this on text ads, image ads, all kinds of different content. And now it's going to give recommendations on how to improve your ads. So it'll go on and on like that. So I'm going to go to the next slide. And so this is a really helpful thing. This is wonderful that you can upload images and get feedback. And Bob, back to you.
So, in fact, I was just mentioning Anita had asked a question about Jasper versus OpenAI. So let me chat about that real quick. There are several enterprise level tools out there, Jasper being one that I'm very familiar with, that give you some enterprise level management of your brand voice, style guide. And in fact, in Jasper, they allow what's called a knowledge base, which gives you some role-based access control over what the brand voice is for the company or for the brand. Really pretty slick stuff. Nice thing there is that you can enforce a brand voice across the whole company, that all the users. You can enforce a style guide across all the users. That, and when you're talking about an enterprise or even just at the company level, Jasper gives you some of those tools. Writer as well has brand alignment and voice built into it. You can go in and set those up. You can then, as with Jasper, point it at existing content for it to create a voice and tone. And then you can use that and enforce that throughout. In fact, on the next slide, you'll see this is what VMware's brand voice was according to Jasper. And we pointed Jasper at all of the existing content, said, please, distill the brand tone and brand voice from that, and then give us the instructions to the LLM for creating documents from here on out. We also gave it a style guide. And so what you're going to want to do is create one of those, create a usage document, basically spelling, capitalization, grammar, tone, personality, style. You probably also have a visual brand guidelines. If you're getting into some of the visual tools, you'll have one of those in terms of typography and color, layout, consistency, identity, things like that. So you can see that those two documents in some of the other tools are easily done. You can still do this in ChatGPT as well. It's just, it takes a little bit of work, but what you're going to want to do, for example, is to include in your prompt or in your custom guidelines that you ensure that all output adheres to the usage guidelines of this document. And in fact, part of your custom instructions could be including that document. Pro tip here, you can put all the important ones into a zip file and just include the zip file. And it's really easy that way. ChatGPT can have up to 20 files per GPT, so you have a lot of leeway there. The context windows obviously are getting bigger. Claude's is now 200,000 tokens, so you can include a lot of information into all of that. So that allows you to use some things like ChatGPT to emulate what you would pay for in Jasper or Grammarly or Writer, for example. Okay.
And
Any questions on that? Yeah.
I just wanted to go back to something Julie said in the chat. She's a data scientist, and so even
absolutely.
though,
right.
Yeah, ChatGPT is using Python when it's analyzing data. She's suggesting that you also say run appropriate diagnostics and report the results, including the p-values. So there's just a little tip. You'll see that in the comments.
Okay.
And then another great thing you can do once you know your branding is you can then go to Midjourney and you can create all your ads and even landing page layouts based on the language that you use in your prompt. Let's see, did I keep that open? So for example, in Midjourney, I just asked ChatGPT to create, Midjourney to create these LinkedIn ads with lots of blank space for big headlines with 2 sexy working men and so on. And now I have some great images that I could use, impactful. I told it what my style was. I said our tone is bold and distinctive. So it's another great way to do messaging with your other assets as well. Any questions? All right, and this is something I actually showed last February. ChatGPT is really good for doing sentiment analysis. So I took one of my favorite companies, REI, and I asked it and I looked at all the Trustpilot customer reviews. I had 40, and I asked it to give me the positive, negative, and neutral results, categorize the types of satisfaction or dissatisfaction. And then I asked it if anything significant changed over the past year relating to COVID. And in a minute, less than a minute, of course, it came back with what the sentiment analysis was. It gave me a table of the date, the dissatisfaction type. And then I used another tool, and then I have this nice write-up that I could create a report like this and pass it on to the client in no time. So another big thing to do is to look at how is your brand showing up in search, in LLM search. So here's an example using Gemini. And I asked this question. I specifically said no logos because all of a sudden Gemini is putting all this garbage in the response and it's just noise. So it's good to test these, test out questions that you hope would bring up your brand, like it did here for me. And there's this great little tool, costs $35 for a lifetime membership, and it allows you in one go to look at 6 different LLMs asking the same question. So a really fast way to look at your prompts. Back to you, Bob.
So I mentioned earlier ABM, and one of the things that Gen AI is actually allowing here, or opening up in terms of how you can use it in your marketing. And one of the goals of ABM has always been mass personalization. And unfortunately, up till now, it's been pretty labor intensive, or you get kind of this generic persona based customization. And now you can actually get down to very account specific mass personalization, and using AI, you can actually get to that point. So I want to show an example here with Carvana. Carvana, for those of you that don't know, sells used cars essentially on the web. And what they've done is they've gone through with their simple customer database of just name the vehicle that was purchased, the place it was purchased, and the season, and maybe some cultural events around that time. And they created personalized videos for every single one of their customers to that they sent out to each one of their customers. So this one, for example, is a woman named Sharif who bought a blue VW Beetle. She lives in Long Beach, California. And so this video was generated specifically for her. And the voiceover you're not hearing is talking about how fun it was and how happy they are that she's a customer and all that stuff. The customized GPT produces 300,000 videos per hour, and so far has already produced 45,000 hours, which is basically over 5 years worth of video, and sent that out to each individual customer. So you can imagine, you can start taking this, your CRM data, and starting to do really personalized brand and marketing to the individual customer or to the individual account. So how do you do that in terms of say an enterprise, right? Salesforce was I think 3 weeks ago now, on the 27th of February. So so a month. They introduced Einstein, which is essentially AI in the CRM. And it can now build predictions and recommendations for the account and for each one of the customers. And you can go in and start to do that data analysis that we talked about, discovering that. They also link into external sources as well. So maybe you're not a Salesforce customer, not a lot of us are, but gives you an idea what's happening at the high end. There's a company called Sales AI, which does something similar, down at a little more of a company approach. Or you can start to try to emulate this in GPT-2 or Chat GPT. So let's say, for example, the way you would do that is you would take your CRM. Maybe you can download that into a spreadsheet, or your spreadsheet is your CRM. And then you run that through code analysis and figure out, okay, you can extract the data similar to what we did earlier, extracting that data. Then you can create some custom GPTs that maybe use DALL-E, or as Rosemary was showing with some of the ads there, those are specific to the individual customers, and create individual ads per customer. And then you use an email service such as MailChimp or Mailgun, because you don't want to do this off of your personal account, to deliver those to the individual customers themselves. So you can start to see that you can get some really specific mass personalization using the AIs that you have. So I think that's going to be a place where we're going to see an explosion in capabilities fairly shortly. Any questions on that?
Yes, Bob. In the chat, Sonali was asking about what company did these videos?
So Carvana made their own GPT, or their own tool essentially to do that. But it's a custom GPT, and you could do that with a DALL-E, or with the new one from OpenAI. That would be cool as well.
Oh, Sonora.
They made a
Sonora,
custom GPT within Dolly to create the different videos?
Yeah.
Cool.
Sora would be a cool one. That would be thanks, Brian, for that. Yeah, so look for, fairly soon being able to create individual videos through Sora.
Any guidance on quality control or reviewing them?
Well, yeah, you could see in there, there are some issues with the video that got produced there, which I wouldn't have let through, but they did. So yeah, you definitely, as we always say, there's got to be a human in the loop every single time. You cannot release stuff straight out of an AI tool to the market. So yeah, I would go through and regenerate things that don't look right. But I don't want to watch 5 years worth of videos.
And Bob, I don't think anyone does. So comment, and I'm interested for people's feedback. I think increasingly there's this tsunami of content for customers. Those customers aren't going to be human, right? Increasingly and very quickly here, it's just sort of a mass bot to bot arbitrage. And yet here we are. So we have all this content. No one's going to watch all that. Carvana's producing 5 years worth of video for who? So it's just
5 years worth of custom. So it's for individual
staggering.
customers, right?
Yeah.
It's mass customization, right? But
Yeah.
you're going to get a video from Carvana.
I'm not
It's
gonna
only
watch
going to
it.
be 2 minutes long. So you may or
Yeah.
may not watch it.
Yeah.
Right.
All right,
Okay.
so
Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So this is a question that comes up all the time, is how do I automate content creation? So I'm going to suggest you never use ChatGPT or any other AI to just completely write content for you. It's better to do it in an approach that looks something like this, where this is a framework. If you were on the last session, you already saw this, but this is where we take one prompt and we just continue through the whole process of brainstorming. We move on within the same conversation to identifying pain points. We look for keywords, and we ask for a lot of online research, giving lots of URLs to help the AI to give us the best answer. And then when you come to creating content, first you want to ask for the content outline based on all this information. And then it's best in a paragraph by paragraph process to go through and ask the bot to create that content, then you edit it and you move on to the next. Because there was it's not going to work any other way. There was a guy who tested creating a whole WordPress site with 10,000 pages, 100% written by AI. At first, Google, for the first 4 months, Google showed some of those pages in rankings, and they ranked. And then after a while, within that 4-month period, the pages stopped ranking, and then eventually no traffic came from those pages. So while you might get a little bump, it's not going to be lasting. So, and I also get asked about keyword research and using AI. Well, I think it is far superior to the tools we have now, like SEMrush and Href and so on. And that's because they have such a massive data set to go from, and AI does a better job at understanding search intent, and it can change its recommendations based on what's happening, and it finds niche words. So if you look at this screenshot, I've asked it to prioritize this data, give me the topics, subtopics, and the keywords that go with each of this section, the pain points, and who my personas are. And, I've been doing SEO for decades, and I have always been disappointed with the whole SEO keyword research process, because you search for, cybersecurity, whatever, and most of the results you get include the word cybersecurity. So what you're really looking for is something that's different, right? And so this is the big thing that's happening, right? Is that companies like Perplexity are becoming the new Google replacement, and it's going to really disrupt traffic from Google. And, I think my site gets over 60% of its traffic, at least from search. And I did this small poll in LinkedIn. I think we had over 50 people who responded. And you can see here that the majority of people are not using Google search to find answers to things. And this is why it matters. You know, we get a lot of traffic from Google, and that's going to be impacted, and we don't really know exactly what that's going to look like, especially since we don't really know what Google's SGE model is going to look like. So how can you adapt? I have done so much reading on whether you can influence LLMs, and Rich, I saw what you put in the chat, but I've been following our search engine marketing network,
Sure.
which also has scientists in it, and they're just saying that you can't really influence an LLM for several reasons. First of all, it's designed to make slow and steady changes, not sudden ones. It tries to keep big changes under control. It takes a long time to change the opinion of the vast amount of data that it has. So I know we're going to hear a lot about companies offering services to do LLM optimization, but I think it would take a lot to see how you're going to improve that. The only thing that appears to be valuable is to make sure that your company is mentioned on influential websites, because when ChatGPT or other AIs see your company's name next to all these other words like cybersecurity, then it's more likely that it will return, right? Just like in the example I showed you when I was looking at my own messaging, it returned those results, including my URL, because my site is a lot about AI now. And according to Microsoft, verbs matter a lot more. But all these other things that we've been told for years and years and years still matter. Have a great on-page experience. Content is king. Okay, Bob, back to you.
Yeah, so I just wanted to wrap up real quick with custom GPTs. We talked about a lot today. I think some of you are already experts. If you want to dig in deeper, start to write your own tools, or have some more control on the data in the database, or your CRM doesn't export data well, you want to look at custom GPTs, and that's a fairly new extension from OpenAI. But it really gives you an ability to integrate and customize things. So if you open up your up in the upper left-hand corner, you see Explore GPTs. You click on that, and surprise, surprise, for those of you that don't want to go deep, there is a GPT store, just like an app store, and you can go in there and start browsing around and looking. And here we have, go to market. So if you want to look for a GPT that's already been put together, that will put together a GPT go-to-market strategy for you, here it is, GTM Wiz, right? So now understand that that is a tool that has been programmed by a person that has his own idea about how he sees the go-to-market motion, what's in the app and stuff like that. But hey, go in there, try it, see what you think. Rosemary wants to launch an SOS device for hikers. Cool product. That would be awesome. He's got it set up, so it's going to come through and say, okay, here's what you need to do, and what else can you provide, and then you walk through the process. So if you can foresee that this is something that, hey, that would be really cool to use. It would also be really interesting to be able to create my own. So you can do this within the company, and that way enforce, say, style rules or information. You can imagine creating custom GPTs to do your QBRs, to do your sales reports, to do RFPs and RFQs, all kind of interesting stuff. What's even more interesting, if you want to start to create your own, you can, in the upper right-hand corner, there's My GPTs. So the ones that you buy, or the ones that you download, or the ones that you create are all available to you. I think it's also under your name as well. So it would it then goes in there, and you can go give it essentially the custom prompt that you want to have that every single time. And then you can also create and sit there and use that process to create the GPT, and then you can test it all in the same tool. If you want to have knowledge-based items like we were talking about with Jasper before, that's where you could be able to insert those so that you can enforce, say, style rules across every single one of the instances usage. You could also create JSON and YAML callouts for external APIs. For those of you that are geeky enough that want to do that, you can start to query from databases or CRMs and the like. So custom GPTs really, I think, is going to be an exploding market very soon. It's also one that you're going to want to keep an eye on, because it really gives you a way to configure and really customize OpenAI, ChatGPT. If you want to look for something in between, yeah, and this is actually, I think, Brian, I think this is how you're going to create AI agents in the future. If you want to look for something in between, there are companies that do this. Custom GPT.ai, for example, does a back-end integration and security as light. So you can actually look for in the marketplace for people that will do that for you as well. So custom GPTs, big thing coming up very soon, or actually already started. So good to get to know that. With that, I think we are done. We are right at the hour. I guess we have 2 more minutes for Q&A if there's any big things here.
A lot of accolades coming on the chat. Thank you both, Bob and Rosemary. Anybody chat or raise your hand, ask a quick question here with a minute or two remaining. There's been a lot of great Q&A going on, so thank you.
Appreciate it. If you want to continue the conversation, both Rosemary and I, get in touch with us. Drop us a note or get on our website.
Yeah, do you want to chat in, you guys? I should have done that for you, but if you want to chat your LinkedIn or websites or however you want to connect with everyone here.
Let me just bring this up.
Again, this will be posted on our YouTube channel. I want to thank a community member who reminded me, you're not actually recording. So I did start recording, Rosemary, after the intro. We'll get that up there. And really great. I hope you do another one soon.
There it is.
Well, I have been thinking about doing some 30-minute sessions, and I thought the first one might be on summarization, because there's so many different tools for different applications. So I'm kind of noodling on that for July. So stay tuned.
Great.
That was actually one of the biggest use cases at VMware, was meeting summarization.
Yeah.
Paper summarization, something, tell me what I need to know about this thing. All right.
Bob,
All right. Thanks,
All right.
Rich.
Thank you,
Always a
everyone.
pleasure.
Until next time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Appreciate it.